CNN can now confirm that President Trump asked a number of his top foreign policy advisors last summer about the possibility of invading Venezuela. Trump aides vigorously pushed back against the idea, as did fellow Latin American leaders who allegedly told Trump they did not want to see a U.S. invasion. CNN White House reporter Jeremy Diamond joins us now with more on this. I remember this moment last summer when the president in public said that military options were on the table, and that was enough for some people to be taken aback, saying, what, military options for Venezuela? But here you have, even this is quite a military option, invasion.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that was in Bedminster back in August. He was standing alongside UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, openly talking about the possibility of a military option, not taking it off the table as he was considering these additional sanctions. But the day before, the president was in a meeting with several of his top foreign policy advisors, including then National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster, and he asked them about the possibility of invading Venezuela. He asked them whether that might be an option to consider. Now, let's be clear, the senior administration official who confirmed this to me emphasized that there were no imminent plans for any kind of a military strike on Venezuela and characterized this really as the president thinking out loud. But he didn't just do it one time. He was doing it with his advisors, talking about the possibility of a military invasion of Venezuela. And then he also probed several Latin American leaders about it in the subsequent month, both the Colombian president and Latin American leaders at the UN.
If you then take that idea to Latin American leaders, that sounds like the president was seriously considering this.
Yeah, it seems like he was at least doing some kind of a focus group session with these Latin American leaders about invading Venezuela, which would obviously be a serious escalation of the U.S. response. We know this administration has been tough on Venezuela, imposing numerous sanctions, but this, of course, would be taking it to a whole new level. Jeremy
Diamond, thanks very much. For more context on this, let's bring in CNN intelligence and security analyst. He's also a former CIA operative, Bob Baer. Bob, so the president, the White House is saying he was just thinking out loud here, but the president apparently took it seriously enough to go to other Latin American leaders and raise the idea of a U.S. invasion of Venezuela. You've been around government a while. How unusual is it for a president to raise that in this context?
Very unusual. It's very sensitive in South America, of course, Jim. U.S. troops operating there, overthrowing a government is, beyond the pale. Then again, Venezuela is a mess. Its oil production has fallen off a cliff. It's chaos. People aren't being fed. The countries around Venezuela they're scared. Let's put it this way. A lot of refugees coming across the border. And I do know that this has been in the air for a while, a couple of years, about a possible coup d'etat against Maduro, the head of the government in Venezuela. So the president has got wind of this. I understand that McMaster pushed back on this early on. Stay out of Venezuela. It's a mess. It looks like this has come back around, and the situation is ripe for a change there. So let's see where it goes.
Of course, McMaster is gone now, and we've seen a history of this president saying goodbye to advisors who challenge him, right, on some issues. Looking at this, you mentioned that this might have come from inside the country. You say, was the idea of this proposed to the U.S., perhaps, by factions inside Venezuela?
Well, the way it usually works is exiles living outside of Venezuela will get wind of this or claim to that generals want to move against Maduro. They'll try to transmit those messages to the president and the National Security Council. Whether, in fact, there's a movement underway to get rid of Maduro in Venezuela, nobody knows for sure. But there's certainly not a lot of noise about it. But it's public as well. But a lot of people would like to get to this president and say, you've got to do something about Venezuela. It's only going to get worse. It's going to destabilize the countries around it. And, he's listening, clearly.
Yeah, you talk about exiles encouraging an invasion. Think Ahmed Chalabi in Iraq. It's worked before.
Yeah, great.
Bob Baer, thanks very much.